What do you say, everybody? And let's talk a little bit of Alabama on YouTube. It's Monday Night Quarterback. We're brought to you by Westgate Luxury Condominiums. Let me tell you about Westgate. Before we do anything else, they are the sponsor of Monday Night Quarterback, right there next to Bryant-Denny Stadium, 200 feet next to Bryant-Denny Stadium. Bryant-Denny Stadium, a road, and Westgate Luxury Condominiums. And they are awesome. You got the oversized balconies that look maybe downtown, maybe towards campus, maybe towards Bryant-Denny Stadium, right? They're near the quad. You're walking distance to the strip. You can see the Walk of Champions from the Skygate Club on the roof. It's amazing. And they have 1 to 5 bedroom units available. And you can find out more information at westgateal.com. All right, now that we got the business out of the way, I'm Mick Gillispie. He's Trey Yanity. Guys, like and subscribe. Be part of our channel. We're on a march to make this channel bigger than Bryant-Denny Stadium, which is over 100,000. So we need you guys to like, subscribe, hit the bell, share with your friends. Be a part of what we're doing here as we talk Alabama on YouTube. All right, we got a lot going on this week, Trey, and Alabama football starting to get closer and closer to the April 16th 8A game. That's coming up next Saturday, and we're starting to see these guys scrimmage. Before we get into that, though, we were expecting today and maybe it's not over yet. Maybe today it happens, but we were expecting today to hear from Tyler Steen, the offensive lineman that's transferring out of Vandy. What's the latest there?
Yeah, still nothing yet. And, our own Andrew Bone had the chance to speak with his family. And last week we kind of got an indication it would be sometime between Tuesday and Monday, which is today. So we still haven't heard anything quite yet from Zach Steen, but this is a guy that is a veteran, can take his time. You wish with certain players that they could get this announcement over and you could go ahead and start to, project them in your starting rotation and everything else. But for this guy, I get it. He has options. This is a very highly touted offensive lineman and is going to add a lot of depth experience to Alabama. I think he's still going to commit. I think Alabama, all signs just kind of point to it. What his family said about the education and the business school, really big business guy here. Already has a degree from Vanderbilt when he wraps it up this spring. So you hope that, this announcement is right around the corner. But, to this point, we still don't have anything. Excited to be back on Monday Night Quarterback. And I want to say this, guys. I hope nobody was pranked too hard. This is the first show since April Fool's Day. And, I love a good prank. So hopefully nobody was caught up in that too bad. But yeah, from Tyler Steen, nothing yet. And I hope at some point this week we get that announcement. I expect it to be, maybe in these next few days. Andrew Bone's maybe the better source on that timetable there. But, this is a guy that's going to add a lot when he does make that announcement. You got to hope it's Alabama. Like I said, all signs point to this, being an Alabama commitment here very soon. But we expect to hear something by now and, still nothing on it quite yet.
Look, dude, I think you just brought up something really important. And that is that Andrew Bone is a recruiting expert who talks to the Steens and also with you hosts a show right here every Tuesday night on recruiting.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, this weekend in general was one of the biggest we're going to see in the spring. So many different guys in town, a lot of national guys, a lot of in-state guys. But, as far as Steen goes, hasn't had the chance to visit too often. In his visit, loved it, though, from what I heard. And, excited to get on that show tomorrow night and hear about some of these other visits. You guys can check it out on Twitter. Got the report over the weekend, but we're going to get in depth with it tomorrow night. So please join us. Excited to be live for this. A lot of the times in the spring, some of our shows live, some of them not. So, just excited to get with you guys in the comments. Let us know what you think about Tyler Steen, about, some of these youngsters, class of 2023 rather, really in session now as far as recruiting. So let us know what you think, guys, because this is a really interesting class. And as far as the transfer goes, Alabama's at a point where you've already added an elite cornerback. You've added an elite running back. You've added an elite wide receiver. Those are all positions of need. You look at the one other spot where you really have some need. It's offensive line. Maybe, in middle linebacker, and you could argue a bit on the defensive line. But the glaring, gaping hole right now is just the inexperience at offensive line. This is a guy that has had 2 years in the SEC, a guy that played at Vanderbilt, yes, but put up crazy numbers. And, is a guy that I think could contribute right away. He's going to have to earn that spot, of course. But, you got to hope that Tyler Steen is next in line, because it would be insane if Nick Saban's able to have the class that he did in December. adding one guy in February as well. But then to add all these transfers, we talked about it right before the show started. I don't think this team was beatable before all these additions. But, adding experience and adding depth, especially up front, just makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, and you've talked about the offensive line and, the fact that they're inexperienced. Also, 3 starters are out right now. That's something that Alabama's kind of dealt with. Do you think that helps this team because guys that wouldn't necessarily get those opportunities to play are going to be playing a lot?
Yeah, this team is one that I guess I hoped a few more dudes were further along in their career at this point, especially on the offensive line. But now's their chance. You kind of look at the depth chart here. Brockermeyer's, of course, the hot names when you talk about young guys on the offensive line, but you guys got guys like J.C. Latham. This is a kid that was equally as highly recruited, a guy that has the size, has the physicality to play this season. You got to hope somebody like him can step up. Javion Cohen, a little bit older, but, he's going to get a true shot this season. You look at other guys, Seth McLaughlin, Emil Ekiyor, some of these guys bringing that experience back. You hope that they're going to get their chance, but there's definitely going to have to be some youngsters that step up. Let's say Tyler Steen does commit to Alabama, you get that presence and he can play left or right tackle. So, you have a little bit of flexibility there, but you talk about guys like J.C. Latham, he's probably going to have to start in some games this year at left tackle. Javion Cohen's going to have to be a starter this season. Evan Neal leaving opens up, the primary offensive line spot. I assume Tyler Steen fills in there, but, it could be J.C. Latham or one of these youngsters. Going to be fun to kind of see how it shakes out this spring. Talked about it, 100 times on this show. Got to wait till the fall. I think that's when we kind of see the youngsters at offensive line emerge. But, from what I've seen on the tape, at least, I think J.C. Latham is a kid that could contribute right away. Would love to see it. Maybe you move him to right tackle. I think they've, tried him out for the most part at left tackle to this point. But you have some options. You have a lot of youth, but, it's talented youth. That's always going to be the case at Alabama. So, just train them up and figure out a way to get them comfortable to this system. First-year offensive line coach Eric Wolford only heard good things to this point. So, it's a different kind of position group this season. It is young. It doesn't have the names that it's had in the past, but it's still very talented. And I think it's, it's heading in the right direction with guys like Wolford, some other helpers, on this staff. So I think Tyler Steen's just really the cherry on top for this group.
Guys, like and subscribe, hit the bell, be part of our channel as we talk Alabama football on YouTube with Trey Yanity. I'm Mick Gillispie. And also in the comments section, we're paying attention. Before we kind of get into the scrimmage, I'm just going to look at Jamel's tweet. He says, Jahleel Hall with a question mark. We talked about offensive line. How about receivers? Like a Jahleel Hall. Let's just stick with the Jahleel Hall. He's a guy who has done a lot of talking, right? So expect him to do a lot of playing, right? Haven't heard Nick Saban mention his name.
We haven't. And that's something that we can't speak on, too in depth about it, just to Jahleel Hall in general, because we haven't heard a lot about him. Nick Saban hasn't brought him up individually. He's never really the talk of the tape when we watch these highlights. And he's a guy that I think has it. I've always been a huge Jahleel Hall fan. I think his skill set is so different. He brings that size. He's a Brandon Marshall. He's a guy that I thought would play immediately. He's a guy that I thought would have started, before a JoJo Earl or even a Ja'Cory Brooks. But, for whatever reason, he didn't. You got to hope that he's got his head in place now and he's not firing off these tweets, costing himself more playing time. I think the national title solved a lot of that because he got his opportunity. Didn't really take advantage of it. So, hope this spring he's just kind of finding a way to fly under the radar maybe a little bit more. Do his job, and he's going to get his chance. I think one way or another, Jahleel Hall is going to have to get his chance because this kid is an elite talent, regardless of the tweets, regardless of the hassle, whether it's at Alabama or not, as hard as that is to say, Jahleel Hall is going to be a superstar somewhere. So figuring out a way to kind of settle him down, work him into this offense is going to be a big deal this season. If I'm Nick Saban, last season, I'd probably play him right away. I was surprised to see that he didn't, but I'm not Nick Saban. And, obviously he's got the greatest coaching mind in the history of the game. So I think he's going to handle the situation correctly. And, you hope that's Jahleel Hall staying at Alabama, finding a way to get on the field and, just putting in quality reps. Because last season, obviously, he has a massive opportunity, to contribute down in the national title game. Didn't do it. And Lindsay asking, is it a good thing or bad thing that he hasn't been mentioned? I don't think we can read into it too deeply either way. I think it would be a bad thing if he brought him up in a negative way. Yeah, if he brings him up in a positive way, that maybe pushes the needle a little bit. But in the spring, I don't think we get a clear indication of how he feels playing time wise, at least, about these guys. He's going to talk about who's working harder. You'd love to hear Jai Hall's name brought up in that, but we haven't heard about any kind of lack of hustle, or anything that would set him back further than he is right now. So, I think it's still pretty neutral, the fact that we haven't heard anything. You hope by the end of the spring there is some positive comments about a Jai Hall, because like I said, love this kid to death, unbelievably talented player. And, you just hope it works out here, because this would be a giant waste for a lot of different reasons if they can't make it happen.
Yeah, and Lindsey Black in the comment section wants to know, is it a good thing or a bad thing that he hasn't been mentioned? We don't know. It could be nothing. I mean, Nick Saban can't mention every single player on the roster. So the fact that he hasn't mentioned them doesn't mean anything, other than some of the other guys in his position group have been mentioned, which they've all been for a positive reason. And we'll be keeping an eye on that as this thing goes forward. All right, let's switch gears now. We had our first scrimmage on Saturday. That's leading up to another scrimmage this weekend, and then another scrimmage, which is the 8A game next Saturday. Nick Saban did say this before we kind of get into what happened at the scrimmage. He seems to like this group. He said there's no complainers in this group, and I'll tell you what, that is a big compliment to this entire team, including a Jai Hall.
It is, especially when you talk about the youth on this team. Usually you hear those comments about a group that has a lot of starting juniors and seniors and, a little bit more of a veteran presence. This group is still really young, and to hear that praise is huge, especially with a group that, is probably going to have a guy that comes in out of nowhere and starts at running back right away. Wide receiver one, probably a transfer. The main cornerback on this team, another transfer. So the fact that it's already meshing the way it is a really good sign, in my opinion. You love to hear about it like Ty Simpson and some of these younger kids that have come into the program now. We're going to talk about Jahiem Oatis a little bit more. This is a guy we've heard a lot of high praise about. And, I just think the mesh with this group has been really exciting to see, because I didn't know what it was going to look like. You have some personalities on this team. Nobody too crazy, I guess, personalities in the sense of image and how well known they are. Guys like Bryce Young, guys like Will Anderson. You're mixing that with a guy like Eli Ricks, who has had the hype for quite some time as well. Guys like Jermaine Burton, who has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, didn't get that opportunity at Georgia, kind of has to prove himself here at Alabama to do the same. So, it's not to say he didn't get the opportunity at Georgia. It wasn't wide receiver number one at Georgia like I think he aspired to be. I think he can be that this season at Alabama. We got Terry and Arnold getting shouted out in the comments. I think he could find a way to kind of bust in this season. I hope we see some kind of breakout from him, kind of tied into another question in the comments there. There's a few guys I think could really break out on this team. But, it's just cool to see the mesh, because you have so many different personalities and you have a lot of youth, and sometimes that doesn't work out. But, you see guys like Jeremiah Alexander coming into the program, not wanting to, burst onto the scene and take over right away. He's learning lessons. He's learning from Dallas Turner. He's learning from Will Anderson. That kind of mentality, the Ty Simpsons of the world that are okay with waiting their turn, that changes everything about a team. You could have all the talent in the world, but if it doesn't mesh, it's never going to work. And I think so far, it's early. We're only a few weeks into spring practice, but we are seeing a very good mesh with this group.
Guys, like and subscribe as we get you ready for the 8A game coming up on April 16th. We're going to have coverage here on our YouTube channel that day, including our post-game show, it sounds like. I mean, maybe a little inside baseball, but we always do that from Westgate Luxury Condominiums. And guess what? Our show's brought to you by Westgate. Find out more information about them at westgateal.com. But it's right there next to Bryant-Denny Stadium, 200 feet away. He's Trey Yanity, and I'm Mick Gillispie. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. That's a great way of saying roll tide as we talk tonight. And for those of you hanging out in the comment section, I see there's a question about Arch Manning. The guy to answer that tomorrow night, right back here, Andrew Bone, the recruiting guru of our group. He and Trey Yanity will have a show here tomorrow night, 6 o'clock. He's going to answer those questions. So, yeah, appreciate you guys. And, hey, we love the fact that we're international. Gustavo hitting us up from Brazil right now. Man, this is what it's all about. Guys, like, subscribe, thumbs up, hit the bell as we talk about Alabama. All right, the defensive line, we know it's going to be a strength for Alabama. Will Anderson Jr., Dallas Turner. All of a sudden, though, now, Trey, we're hearing about this Jahiem Oatis guy.
He's burst onto the scene, and this is a kid we knew about the size coming in. I don't have the exact measurements because I don't think we can get an exact measurement. I've heard 400 pounds, 410 pounds. His junior year, I think he was listed around 375. And this kid's a monster. And upon arrival, I think one of the more official numbers was 385. We've heard that he's kind of slimmed down a little bit since he's been on campus, since he's been a part of spring practice. And this is a guy that I think had a really big first scrimmage. He tweeted about it. I don't know if we have the tweet up here. I guess Chris has kind of got the thread here. There's a lot of tweeting going on. There's a lot of excitement for good reason. Tweeting about being part of the Bama gang. He got his first sack, first few tackles in a scrimmage here. Love the energy from this guy. And like you said, this is one of the players, one of the youngsters at least, one of the guys in this incoming class that could play right away. You look at the defensive line. I think in the modern game, you kind of take the edge rush, the outside linebacker out of this conversation a little bit. And on Alabama, who's going to be, on either side there, and Dallas Turner and Will Anderson. So, you look a little bit towards the interior here. The leader now got to be DJ Dale, I think, at this point. Then you look to Byron Young, maybe Justin Aboigbe. These guys have the experience, and I love that about this line. Hopefully we see guys like Jahiem Oatis bust in, get their chance to do something. But, you have so much depth and so much experience. That might not be, even the best option this season. You look at guys like Tim Smith Jr., Braylon Ingram, Byron Young, Stephen Wen. There's a lot of experience on this defensive line. A group that's had a coach that's kind of seen the progress. Freddie Roach has been with this group. It's not a position like tight end now or, offensive line where you have a first-year head coach. This is an experienced group with an experienced position coach. This is a group that I think is going to continue to help Alabama, go try to win another national title. We talk about outside linebacker. We talk about Henry To'o and his vocal leadership and, even guys like Kool-Aid and now Eli Ricks that are going to have that explosive ability in the backfield. But it starts up front. It always starts up front. And, guys like DJ Dale moved on to the leadership team now. They're going to be leaders. And I think that, they're going to lead in different ways. The defense has so many different personalities. Guys like Will Anderson that are going to punch you in the mouth, get in your face. Guys like DJ Dale that are going to kind of be your mentors. So just love the experience, love the mix of personalities. And, hey, maybe Jahiem Oatis is the kind of guy that gets his chance this season. If he does, he's going to have to earn that because there's a long line of, juniors, seniors in this group. And, just kind of excited to see how the rotation shakes out.
Yeah, down 46 pounds from 370 to 285. I mean, that's a lot of weight loss, and I'm guessing that he probably feels, like a much lighter, more nimble guy, even for a big fella to lose that much weight.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, if you're able to lose it in that amount of time, you're obviously working very hard. And to post those numbers in scrimmage number 1, didn't get to see all the numbers from this scrimmage, but that's a feat in and of itself to get that opportunity. And just getting back to the comments here real quick. Chris Allen, we see you. What's up, man? Thanks for being here tonight. We got some representation in Pensacola as well. And, shout out to your man in Brazil. This is awesome to be international. I know we got Late Night Bama Insider Forum over there. So we appreciate everybody being here. But, this group is just one of the more experienced on the team. And, a group that I think has high potential and, not too low of a floor either. There's some boomer bust groups on Alabama football right now. You look at cornerback, they have a really, really high ceiling.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't work out, there's not a lot of depth there. Middle linebacker, you have Henry To'o, but not a lot of depth there either. So, this is a group that does have it and does have the experience. This is the comfortable group, I guess, if we're going to, give it an adjective here on the team, because there's just so many different guys you can turn to. Knock on wood, you got to hope that these guys stay healthy. But, overall, love the look of this group.
He's Trey Yanity. I'm Mick Gillispie. Guys, like and subscribe as you hang out with us on Monday Night Quarterback, talking Alabama football on YouTube. We do this every Monday, and it's a lot of fun leading up to the 8A game, which is coming April 16th at Bryant-Denny Stadium. And that'll be an awesome day. It always is. I mean, it's a lot of fun. Nick Saban really made his presence felt as Alabama's head coach. When he took over the program, Trey, you were probably in middle school back then, and Alabama was terrible. And Nick Saban showed up, and then we sold out. Well, free, it was a sellout crowd. There were no more spots to get in there, the 8A game, and that kind of set everything in motion. as to what we have now with this dynasty. So, guys, like, subscribe, share with your friends, hit the bell. We really appreciate you being here on Monday Night Quarterback as we talk about the 8A game. Let's get into the upcoming schedule. I kind of mentioned it before, knowing that the game is coming up. Do you know what time the game is on the 16th, and what do we have moving forward for this team?
Yeah, I think it's 1 o'clock kickoff. Let me get that for official before you guys get your plans together here. And there's a really cool ceremony going on for this A Day. They're going to be honoring a couple of guys that made a huge impact. I want to get the details right here, so I'm not. 2 p.m. Central is going to be the kickoff for the game there, so be sure to get those plans in. But these next couple of weeks, I think, is where we really kind of see the nitty gritty. A Day is just a measurement. It's not the final measure of where everything stands, but this is where you work to kind of get your opportunity in A Day. It opens the door for so many guys. For these youngsters, this is a huge couple of weeks to just kind of get more comfortable, get used to the schemes, get used to the playbook. You don't have to act like a game's right around the corner, because there's not one. You got a scrimmage coming up, 2 more of them here. So, just get comfortable, continue to work and fight for spots, regardless or not, if they're going to be earned at this point or not. But, at the end of the day, just really excited to see the tight end group, the offensive line group, some of these groups that we don't have clear-cut starters for, who looks good the rest of the spring, who looks healthy, and, who looks like they're ready to play. Because I think sometimes we get groups like the receiver group in Alabama this year where there's 8, 9 different options. And, it's kind of hard to sift through. But watching the highlights, and we're going to have some of those highlights up here on our YouTube page in a little bit, you kind of get an idea of who Bryce likes, which running backs they feel the most comfortable with. And somebody was asking about a breakout player earlier. Jahmyr Gibbs, oh my God. From what we've seen so far, from what we've seen on the tape, this guy is just unbelievable. So that's going to be my breakout player. Going to be fun to, kind of watch him the rest of this spring. We got Ty's Revenge, talking about Aaron Anderson too. Kid looks really good. Hope he gets his opportunity in this first season. So, just kind of following these young guys and making sure everybody stays healthy, looking at some of these coaching turnovers, looking at Eric Wolford, Joe Cox, how the groups kind of respond to them. It is fun, and it's going to be really fun leading up to A Day. So appreciate you guys being here and, constantly following on with the coverage, because, we love doing it with you guys.
Roll Tide, Jarvis, and everyone else in the comment section. And again, thanks for being here, guys. Give us a thumbs up as we talk college football, right? Getting ready for the spring game and what Alabama has to offer. Trey and I and Chris our producer, were all talking before the show. And this just feels like another one of those championship teams for Alabama. Look, I'm not trying to get ahead of myself here, but there's just something about this group already. You're looking at this team, and you've added some guys that are hungry that came from programs that weren't that good. You got one guy that came from the national championship team that beat Alabama, but he wants to play with Bryce Young. And then you got all of these guys like Bryce Young and Will Anderson Jr. and the players that will follow them, who really feel like they have some unfinished business. Because I think when it was all said and done, we know that if Alabama would not have had those injuries at wide receiver, they would have won the national championship. So it feels like these guys are motivated right now.
Oh, super motivated. I mean, this team has a chip on their shoulder, and we kind of saw, a glimpse of it in the SEC title game, what this team would look like when they really, had that underdog mentality, had something to play for. The revenge tour, it's coming, guys. We talked about it. I think it was 2018 after Alabama lost the national title to Clemson. We were so excited to see that revenge tour. I think this one's going to be even better. That one didn't end in a national title. I think this one easily could. And, kind of thinking about it, I don't know if I can compare this to a team in the past. I guess if there was a team, you had to think of that this is comparable to, what would that be? Because it just has such a unique makeup. I think this team has all the potential in the world, and I think it's going to be a different kind of Alabama team than we've seen in the past. Well,
I mean, honestly, it kind of feels like the 2020 team more than the 2021 team, because when you look on paper, there's some huge draft picks that are waiting for the season to be over to cash in. I mean, Alabama could have the first 2 guys in the draft. That's not crazy to say, with Bryce Young and Will Anderson Jr. And Bryce Young. They're going to be top 10 picks, I'm guessing, right? And maybe top 5, maybe 1 and 2. Yeah. That kind of goes back to the 2020 team, where we knew that they had a bunch of players that were going to have potential to be first-round picks. Last year, they have probably one guy that's going to get picked in the first round. So it's a different thing. They were really young. Now they're experienced and they're hungry. And that reminds me, too, Kyle Henderson does an excellent job of doing preview videos of players that have come to Alabama. And he just posted first look at LSU transfer Eli Ricks, another really exciting player that's going to be in the secondary for Alabama, former 5-star athlete, and a guy who got his head beat in last year at LSU. He's ready to come somewhere and win. And I bet you he's motivated.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, this is this is a kid that was just looking for a home after everything that went down at LSU. And, through some recruiting efforts, certain guys on the team, he found it at Alabama. I think it's going to be a perfect fit, a huge area of need for Alabama. You're losing 2 key guys at that position. So to have him come in and, already from what we've seen contribute in spring practice and, show off his abilities, it is awesome to see. And like you said, I think 2020 is a really good comparison. I think one comparison we could see from 2020 or, one resemblance in this team, I think we could have a non-quarterback Heisman winner on this team, at outside linebacker there. So a lot of resemblance there. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the 2017 team. Very young receiving core, second-year starter at quarterback, pretty open running back room as well to an extent. You had Damian Harris on that team. So it was a little bit more clear-cut. But, this team just has so much potential. And I think we're going to see it really kind of shake out after maybe game 1, 2, once they go to Texas. It's going to be a true test of, who's going to start at times this season, who's going to step up, which one of these young receivers is going to be the guy. Is it Jahleel Hall real, or is he, just another one of these guys that is never going to get his chance at Alabama? So many different storylines to follow with this team. And, like you said, Eli Ricks, just another one of these great storylines that has now joined up with the Crimson Tide.
All right, guys, final thing we're going to get into today, and we appreciate you being here on Monday Night Quarterback. Thumbs up. And again, subscribe to our channel. We talk Alabama football on here. Tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, Andrew Bone, Trey Yanity will be back. They'll be talking recruiting. Bone, the best in the business. Kyle Henderson mentioned his Rick's video. He's constantly posting stuff. Anything that Nick Saban does, we're going to have it for you. We're going to have it for you first right here, and it's going to be the cleanest version of it. So don't waste your time going somewhere else. When you want to know what Coach Saban says, this is your spot right here. That's what makes this channel really amazing. And we're going to have coverage live from Bryant-Denny on Saturday for the 8A game on April 16th. With all that said and all the football talk, final topic tonight, you guys in the comments section, I want you to join us in making your national championship basketball prediction. Kansas against North Carolina. With all of the other stuff that happened in the tournament, it comes down to the 2 most storied college basketball programs in history, maybe minus UCLA. But here we go. I'll let you start, but you guys in the comment section, tell me who's going to win this basketball game, as Trey tells me.
Mick, this is one that I kind of go back and forth. I've gone back and forth on all day long. But, ultimately, I can't go back on the team I picked from the jump, and I pulled up the receipts here just as evidence. I got the Kansas Jayhawks win the national title. I don't know if you guys can see that on there. But, I've been riding with Kansas from the jump. I think this team just has so many different players they can turn to. McCormick last game having a career night. I think he continues that. What's the health of Baycott in this game? Armando Baycott stepped on a player or on a teammate's foot in their Final Four game against Duke. So, kind of rolled his ankle there. We'll see what he looks like. I think the Jayhawks just have too much firepower. UNC's defenses look shaky at times, and, I just don't think they use their bench well enough. They play their starters for, 35, 38 minutes a game. That's a really hard way to win a national title. But they've gotten here, and they have the talent, so I think anything can happen in this game. Part of the madness, but, I got the Jayhawks. What do you got, Mick?
Well, look, I'm like you. I mean, I got to go. I'm trying to find my I'm on the ESPN app right now because I want to prove it just like you and say that, of the 5 brackets, here it is, of the 5 brackets I've done, you can see.
Oh, yeah.
3 Gonzagas and a Jayhawk. Yeah. So the Jayhawk has saved me. I've got a little fireball next to my name.
Oh, yeah.
and I'm going to stick with the Jayhawks. Look, I would have loved to have seen Gonzaga win this thing. Honestly, and you guys know on here, I was trashing the ACC, and I was wrong. I mean, look, what happened there is that they weren't good at the beginning of the year. North Carolina almost didn't make the tournament, but they got better as the season progressed. And that's what matters the most when you're talking about tournament play. You got to have talent, and then you've got to kind of be hitting your peak at the right time. I felt like Alabama played their best basketball in the non-conference schedule, right? And it was a struggle. Auburn, the same thing. There was a time when Auburn would have beat anyone in the country. But you know what? That Duke, North Carolina game was epic. The ACC always seems to prove that they're good. But Kansas has been the team that has been consistently good this entire year. They had one bad half of basketball against Houston. And then since then, they have just stomped everyone. I think this is going to be a really good game tonight. But I got Kansas winning and me coming in third in the basketball pool because the rest of my picks were so bad that I can't win. But at least I can get there. So I'm going Kansas as well. And you guys, throw your predictions in there as well. It'll be fun to watch. All right, Trey, before we get out of here, anything that I missed, anything you want to get in here before we wrap things up?
Yeah, one more note on basketball. Walker Kessler, the Auburn standout, has announced that he will be going to the NBA draft. So high probability he will not be returning to Auburn next season. Sorry, not sorry. I know that just hurts you guys to hear, but no, Walker Kessler moving on. Excited to see, how it works with a lot of these guys in the NBA draft. And of course, the NFL draft right around the corner as well. So be sure to just stay tuned, guys. We got all kinds of coverage coming. Videos breaking down the rest of spring practice as well, leading up to A-Day. So stick with us, guys. We got a lot coming. And, go to Westgate. Mick, I know you got the heavy Chicago Cubs ties. I kind of look at Westgate like the Wrigley rooftops. It's literally across the street. So, guys, check it out. And thanks for being here tonight. It's been a fun show.
Good comp there. That was a good comp. And I got to say, Jalen Shackelford, he's going to the NBA too. So don't forget that. And then Nate Oates was asked on my buddy's show, The Next Round Live, Lance Taylor and his crew, about J.D. Davidson. And he said, although nothing has been determined there, he has a feeling that Davidson's going to try to go to the NBA if he's a first-round pick. So we'll see what happens for Alabama basketball. But Oates and Pearl both can recruit. And the best thing about the state of Alabama right now is not only does Alabama dominate in football, not so much Auburn, but both are really good at basketball and recruiting as well. And don't forget the Golden Flake A-Day game, April 16th, 2:00 Central Time. And Trey and I and Chris Daughtry we'll be covering this thing as it goes on. I got a feeling that we'll be doing our show before the end of the game because those games kind of get rough in the second part of the second half of those games. But we'll be talking to you guys. I'm sure we'll take some calls and all that stuff as well. So stay tuned for that as we move forward. And again, our show's brought to you by Westgate Luxury Condominiums right there next to Bryant-Denny Stadium. 1 to 5 bedroom units available. They go from 900 to 3,000 square feet. You got Sub-Zero and Wolf kitchen appliances. They're the top in the business. You've got the oversized balconies. You got the Skygate Club on the roof for game days or any other time that you want to go up there and hang out. I'm telling you, the parking's great. The location's fantastic. If you're looking to buy rental property, or maybe you just want somewhere to go for game day, or maybe you have a son or daughter that's going to be at Alabama sometime soon, you really want to hook them up, mom and dad, that's the place to do it right there. WestgateAL.com for more information. Chris Daughtry behind the scenes, another fantastic job for Trey Yanity. I'm Mick Gillispie. And again, this was Monday Night Quarterback. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, and share. We'll talk to you next Monday at 6 o'clock. And until then, roll tide, everybody.